qué vas a olvidar? Yo he tenido tanto temor. ¿Para qué vas a olvidar? Si solo quiero tu amor. Es el alma que me dice que te siga. Quiero darte todo tu perdón. Que no sé de amar, corazón. Yo sí sé de amar, sí sé de amor, corazón, corazón.
Madam Secretary, can you please start the recording?
Chair, meeting is now being recorded.
Thank you. Good evening. I would like to call the regular meeting of March 14th, 2022 to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the Secretary please call roll?
Commissioner Alderete,
Here.
Commissioner Calderon,
Present.
Commissioner McLaughlin, Commissioner Ramos,
Present.
Commissioner Wu,
Here.
Vice Chair Pham, Chair Morrissey.
Here.
Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you. Before we begin, I'd like to remind my fellow commissioners to turn your microphones on when speaking and off when not speaking. And when speaking, please place the microphone about 4 inches away from you. Thank you. Members of the public may attend Planning Commission meetings in person or virtually via Zoom. I now invite the Commission Secretary to describe the way the public can access and participate in this meeting.
This meeting is being live streamed via our portal, www.santaana.primegov.com/public-portal, and to YouTube, www.youtube.com/City of Santa Ana videos. If you would like to provide a public comment, you may do so in the following ways. Join the meeting via Zoom, entering meeting ID 824-6527-8249. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, select the hand icon to let us know you'd like to speak. You will be called upon by the name you entered. If you would like to join us by calling in, please dial 669-900-9128. Enter meeting ID 82465278-249. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, please press *9 to let us know you'd like to speak. You will be called upon by the last 3 digits of your phone number. After you are called upon, you must press *6 to unmute yourself. For those who are attending in this meeting in person and would like to provide a public comment, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. All speakers will be given 3 minutes to speak. I will alert you when your time is up. Your turn, Chair.
Moving on to public comments on non-agenda items. Secretary, does anyone wish to speak?
If you are attending this meeting in person, would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it in to the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will give it a few seconds. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you. And we will move on to the consent calendar. We'll have two separate motions for excused absences and the approval of the minutes.
I'd like to move we approve the minutes.
Second it.
Okay. Have a point of discussion on that. The actual on the minutes, the condition of approval that's listed seems to preclude the applicant Northgate from putting cart storage on the east side, whereas I think we had just said they should provide code required ADA access, which wouldn't necessarily preclude them from putting cart storage there.
Really noted, you can adopt the minutes with that comment, and we'll go ahead and change the minutes to
Okay,
reflect.
Commissioner Wu, do you have objection to that? All right, thank you. Madam Secretary, can you do a roll call vote, please, on that?
Commissioner Alderete,
Yes.
Commissioner Calderon,
Aye.
Commissioner McLaughlin, Commissioner Ramos,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pham, Chair Morrissey.
Aye.
Motion is approved with majority vote with Commissioner McLaughlin and Commissioner Pham, Vice Chair Pham absent.
Thank you. And we will have a second motion to excuse Mark McLaughlin from this meeting. I believe last meeting he stated he would not be present.
I move we excuse Commissioner McLaughlin.
I'll second it.
I have a point of clarification. Seeing that the vice chair is also absent, should we do this at the end of the meeting to see whether or not he will also require an excused absence?
He did inform me that he was going to be here, but it's up to you, Chair, if you want to wait to do this after.
Yeah, that's a good point. We can hold the vote until the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Can I just ask one point of clarification? So I was looking at the minutes. The last meeting, I wasn't here, but I couldn't tell if it was excused or not. So that wasn't in the minutes, and I'm not sure what we do about that. Because I did let staff know that I wouldn't be here. So I don't know if we agendize that for the next meeting or how we handle that.
We did excuse the
They did
absence.
excuse. Okay.
Sorry, I
All
didn't
right.
catch
My
that
bad.
in the minutes.
All right,
But
thank you.
the absence was excused.
I did correct that in the minutes, Commissioner Alderete.
Thank you.
We can go ahead with that vote at this point.
Let the record reflect that Vice Chair Bell is here.
Thank you. So you want to make the motion to excuse the absence of Commissioner McLaughlin?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to excuse the absence of Commissioner McLaughlin.
And I'll second it.
Commissioner Alderete,
Yes.
Commissioner Calderon,
Aye.
Commissioner McLaughlin, Commissioner Ramos,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pham,
Aye.
Chair Morrissey.
Aye.
Motion is approved with majority vote with Commissioner McLaughlin absent.
That concludes the consent calendar. Moving on to the business calendar. I'll go through the public hearing protocols so everyone knows what to expect. Staff will provide a presentation and answer questions from the commission. Public hearing will be opened. The applicant will be given the opportunity to speak, limited to 15 minutes. Members of the public will be given the opportunity to comment, limited to 3 minutes. The applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to comments made by the public, limited to 5 minutes. The public hearing will be closed. Discussion will return to the commission for formal action taken to approve, conditionally approve, deny, or continue review of the application. Please consider the following suggestions when organizing your comments. Please state your name and address, strictly voluntary. State whether you support, oppose, or are neutral to the proposal. And C, your statement should include all pertinent facts within your knowledge. Avoid gossip, emotion, and repetition. A clear, concise, and non-repetitive argument is most effective. This is the time and place for the public hearing on item number 1, conditional use permit number 2022-01 and number 2022-03 for the property located at 2420 Cape Cod Way. Please note, decision on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 days by any interested individual or party. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regards to this item? Start with Commissioner Aldretti.
I have no disclosures.
No disclosures.
Commissioner Wu,
None whatsoever.
Commissioner Ramos,
No disclosures.
Vice Chair Pham,
No disclosures.
and I have nothing to disclose. Madam Secretary, have we received any written communication?
We have received one item of written communication, and it was distributed to the commissioners as well as posted on the website.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll have a presentation by staff first.
Thank you.
Mr. Eric Martin will give a brief presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Eric, and I'm the case planner for the project on tonight's agenda. Item number 1, sorry, let me control this, is for GoPuff, and they are requesting 2 CUPs to allow the after-hours operations and off-premise alcoholic beverage sales. The application numbers are CUP numbers 2022-01 and 2022-03. It's located at 2420 Cape Cod Way, and the property is located within Council Ward 5. Jennifer Oden is here tonight. She works with Solomon, Saltzman, and Jamieson, and she is representing GoPuff on behalf of the property owner, and they are requesting approval of the CUP numbers 2022-01 and 2022-03, again, to allow the after-hours sale of alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption through a Type 21 license. And this will be at a new storage and warehouse facility with ancillary retail and delivery services. Staff's recommendation tonight is to adopt a resolution approving CUP numbers 2022-01 and 2022-03 as conditioned, and also to authorize staff to issue a letter of public convenience and necessity. Here is an aerial view of the subject site. It's located within an industrial area, so the general plan designation is industrial, and it's also located within the light industrial M1 zoning district. And it is surrounded by industrial uses. So to the north, you have wholesale operations, as well as to the east, and then you also have warehousing to the east as well. To the south, you have manufacturing and a contractor's yard, and to the west, you also have manufacturing. The total lot size for this site is 0.54 acres. Here are 2 site photos. These were taken from on the left side from Cape Cod Way, so from the street view, and you're looking south towards the north side of the building. And on the right picture, this is within, behind the fencing that's located there, looking again south towards the north side of the building. On this slide, I'll be providing a little bit of background on GoPuff and their operations. They acquired BevMo in 2020, and when they did so, they did 2 things. And one of those was expanding their sellable products within BevMo stores to offer everyday essentials. So offering items from toothpaste to snacks and so forth, on top of their alcoholic beverage offerings. And the second thing they did was they introduced a mobile or web-based application format to place orders and have those orders be delivered in an expedited fashion. So their target for those deliveries is delivering within 30 minutes. And so with that being said, GoPuff offers those delivery services to Santa Ana currently, as there are some BevMo locations in the surrounding area. This location would be the first facility for GoPuff that serves as a standalone facility. Currently, residents and customers could order through BevMo, and in Santa Ana specifically, those orders would be delivered from stores within outside cities. So Orange has an operational location, as well as Costa Mesa and Irvine. So this would be the first in Santa Ana. The nearest GoPuff sites that are standalone sites are located in San Diego, in Santee, California, and I did some outreach there and asked if there had been any issues with those operations, and those respective cities informed me that there are no issues and have not been any complaints with those operations. The subject site is generally in good condition. It has landscaping, smooth pavement, and clear parking stall stripings. However, upon a site visit, I did observe that there is no trash enclosures currently serving the site, and the parking stall striping was single striped. So there are two conditions of approval, that request those items to be constructed and completed. So a trash enclosure to be constructed, as well as the parking stall striping to be restriped to provide double line striping. And that is to satisfy code requirements. On this slide, I'll be providing some operational background as well. This is going to be located at an industrial site within an industrial building, and the building square footage is 11,916 square feet. And the business is proposing to operate 24 hours daily, with the alcohol sales limited from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. So within that building, there's a 564 square foot retail area, which equates to about 4.8% of the total area. And that's going to be maintained as a dispatch area, where employees can either gather the orders and sort of line them up for pickup or delivery, or they can assist a customer who comes into the site and wishes to place an order in person through a digital terminal. So for example, an iPad or even a phone. A product display area is also included in that area, but it does not include any type of grab and go items. There will not be any refrigerated items that an individual could come into the site, see, and then leave with then and there. It's going to strictly be the employees grabbing the items for the customers who do choose to come to the site without an order already being placed. With that being said, the facility is not going to have any traditional store aisles. Again, it's going to be a predominantly industrial use with the warehousing and the storage of the inventory for GoPuff. And like I mentioned earlier, it will have a 50 square foot area for walk-in customers where they will place their orders with the help of an employee through a digital terminal. So once that order is placed, the employee would gather the products in the back where the inventory is located, bag them, and then hand them to customers in that area, whether they place that order online for pickup or whether they place that in person, or they would hand the online orders to delivery drivers to go ahead and deliver to customers who ordered through the app or online. Here is the site plan for the site. The site is developed with a parking lot along Cape Cod Way, so along the northern portion of the property. And then you have the industrial building towards the center, and to the rear of that industrial building, you have a loading area that's enclosed with a block wall and some gates. Here is a floor plan, and as you can see, the bolded area is where that retail area is designated, the 564 square feet, 4.8% of the total area. And then the remaining area is dedicated towards offices that support the operation, such as a break room and an office area, and then a separate storage room. And then the majority of the floor plan itself is dedicated to that inventory and warehousing area. So this facility will, with ancillary retail and delivery services, offering the sale of alcoholic beverages after midnight, will provide an additional service and amenity to residents and visitors of the area. The police department is satisfied that operational standards applicable to the ABC license will mitigate any potential impacts to the surrounding community, and they do not oppose the granting of the CUP. Conditions of approval, the property maintenance agreement, and standards in the Santa Ana Municipal Code will address any potential negative impacts. And the proposed after-hours sale of the alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption for this use is consistent with similar uses that provide similar services to the community, such as Target, who has that ability to deliver alcoholic beverages through a third-party app, or Instacart or Postmates, those similar services that are currently offered to the residents. The proposed use will not be detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of the community. This is a vacant building, so staff does feel that the investment would increase activity during additional business hours, thereby preserving the safety and encouraging further economic development of the surrounding area. And this facility, with the ancillary retail and delivery services of those essential goods that are being offered, including the amenity of having after-hour sales of alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption, presents an additional location and also a method of receiving goods and services, thereby positively contributing to the general well-being of the surrounding community. So there are additional conditions of approval included in the recommended resolutions. Two of them to address any potential issues. One of them is to review the CUP in 12 months, and the other is for the revocation and suspension of the CUP should any issues arise in their operations. The project is categorically exempt from CEQA per section 15301 existing facilities, as this does not involve an expansion of the building, nor does it involve an expansion of the existing use. So with that being said, environmental review number 2022-02 will be filed for the project. Staff's recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving CUP number 2022-01 and number 2022-03 as conditioned. And with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions, as is the applicant, Representative Jennifer Oden, and her colleague Michelle, as well as Billette, who is on the Zoom call this evening.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to the commissioners, see if they have any questions for staff. Start with Commissioner Alderetti.
Thank you. I just had a few questions. So given that this is a logistic distribution center for primarily for alcohol and other items, did staff look at the traffic impacts? And the reason why I raise it is I've read a lot of articles about these types of distribution centers and the traffic that is generated, but these have been in more urban areas, unlike Santa Ana, which is a mix. So even though it's categorically exempt, is that something that anyone's analyzed, like trips generated?
We did not analyze that because it is categorically exempt. We did not have that ability to require the applicant to demonstrate that there wouldn't be any traffic impacts.
Okay, thanks for that. The other comment or question I have is that I think you said that the hours of operation are 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. for delivery of alcohol. Is that right?
That's correct.
So is that what the other local, I think there were 4 listed in the report, are those the hours of operations they would have, or?
I don't believe the retail locations operate that late into the night,
Yeah.
But I would defer that question to Jennifer or Billette on the Zoom call from GoPuff to answer that question.
Okay, great. Thanks. That's it for my questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Calderon, do you have any questions?
Just one question. What was the use of this building before?
It was a wholesale operation.
Okay. Were there any incidents or problems reported prior?
No, there have not been any issues with code enforcement at the site.
All right, no questions. Thanks.
Commissioner Wu, do you have any questions?
Most of these scoot children coming from Spurgeon go down Civic Center Drive or First. It's not a heavily traveled pedestrian area. It's mostly business condo, warehouse operation, battery companies and all that, right?
That's correct.
Right. So there's not a lot of traffic there. There's not a lot of stop lights, stop sign, because it curves around. It's basically a industrial condo park.
Exactly. It is an industrial area and the properties adjacent to it are essentially developed as an industrial business park.
And so on the scale of operation, this is not an Amazon operation. It's only about 12,000 square foot approximately.
That's correct.
Okay. So we're looking at a small delivery service that is occupying a space that is currently vacant. And that I think one of the public comment was that he was concerned about the vagrants in the area, but that's because it's vacant. And now you have 24-hour operation with lights and, operation.
That's correct. And there also is a property maintenance agreement requirement within the conditions of approval to prevent any sort of issues with regards to property maintenance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramos. Do you have any questions?
One more. It's not a bar, right?
No, it is not a bar.
Okay.
It's an industrial site that offers delivery services.
So there's no drinking on premise.
No, this is
Right.
for off-premise consumption.
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Thank you. I have no questions for staff. My questions are for the applicant.
Thank you, Vice Chair Pham.
No questions at the moment.
Thank you. I have one question to clarify the hours of operation. So are the retail hours the same as the delivery? Now the delivery hours are 24/7?
That's
And the
correct.
retail was 6 a.m. to 2 a.m.?
Correct. That is
Okay.
what is allowed per ABC regulations, and that is what the applicant's requesting.
Okay. Does the license give a minimum amount of hours that the facility, the establishment needs to be open?
A minimum amount of hours that
Right.
it can be open, or there's
Or
a
does it
maximum?
just stipulate that it has to be open for retail?
I don't believe ABC regulates that, but it does regulate the hours of operation that it could potentially operate, which would be 6 a.m. to 2 a.m.
My understanding was the license required that there, because of the type of license, it requires that there is a retail component. So my
Okay.
question is, what are the hours that retail component, what are the requirements for those retail hours, the minimum requirements versus maximum?
I'm not sure. Fabiola, did you?
I believe that is correct, but the applicant can address that and what the hours of operation that they will be open to the public will be. But my understanding, that is a requirement of ABC.
Okay, thank you. So do we have any written communications on this, Madam Secretary?
Yes, as I said earlier, we had
And
one
we
written
do have the one.
communication that was distributed.
So we will now open the public hearing. And would the applicant like to speak on this matter?
Good evening, honorable members of the Planning Commission, Mr. Chair, staff. Thank you for having us tonight. First, let me start. My name is Jennifer Oden. I'm an attorney at Solomon, Saltzman and Jameson. I represent GoPuff. We have from the GoPuff team attending virtually, Billet Batar, and he's available to answer any questions. And also present with me in person is Michelle Montgomery, a consultant with GoPuff. So first, I would like to thank staff. I've worked very closely with your staff on this application and project, and I want to commend all of staff and really Eric for his professionalism, responsiveness. It has been a pleasure to work with your staff on this project. Rather than give a presentation as Eric did, which I can certainly do, I'd rather be available to answer your questions and address those that just came up. But I do want to make sure that you have, and I brought copies as well, and I can hand these over. of the visual aid that was shared, I believe, via email with you, so you could have some background with respect to what GoPuff is, what the use of GoPuff is, and so just some general understanding, because I know it is a relatively new use for many of us that we're hearing about. So I can hand that over if I may. And just to rehash a little bit with what Eric said, GoPuff is a digital platform that allows for delivery of essential items in a hyper-local approach. So as Eric mentioned, generally the delivery is always a one set fee at $2.95. The radius is about 2 to 5 miles, and GoPuff likes to get its customers those everyday essentials within 30 minutes or less. And deliveries are packaged that way and prepared that way on site. As Eric mentioned, this is a building that is zoned light industrial. And with that, as a matter of right, what can exist at this location is the warehousing storage use of GoPuff, as well as that up to 5% retail area, which GoPuff comes in at about 4.8%. So all of those things will exist at this location as a matter of right. Really, the ask within the CUP here tonight is the discretionary approval for the off-site sale of alcohol, that type 21 beer, wine, and distilled spirits, and also the hours of 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. with respect to that off-site sale of alcohol. So as part of this application, as I mentioned, we've worked with staff. We've done outreach with Santa Ana Police Department as well. We've really thought through some of these questions, concerns, issues that arise with respect to a type 21 ABC license or a retail component. And I'm happy to say that working with Santa Ana PD, working with staff, there's been little to no concerns voiced. In addition, we have the ABC application on file with the ABC. The site has been posted. There has been received no protest at the ABC to the issuance of the ABC license. And really with the ABC, they're in their final inspection of the site and the issuance, hopefully, of the CUP in order to move forward. So with that said, I know there was some questions and I'd like to just address those if I may. As far as the traffic impact, I believe Commissioner Alderati asked that question. Generally speaking, at GoPuff, and this is at existing BevMo locations and the standalone GoPuffs that Eric had mentioned in San Diego and Santee, it's passenger vehicles that are coming to the location to pick up the delivery items. It's not large scale trucks or anything of that nature. So it's our normal passenger sized vehicles. And generally speaking, it's about 50 to 100 trips per day. Again, what GoPuff likes to do, because it's that hyper local approach, is have the delivery items grouped. So it's most efficient to deliver multiple items to various consumers at one time. And I hope that addresses your question, Commissioner Alderati, with respect to the trips generated. It has not been a problem at the existing GoPuff locations. Here we have the driveway, 2 driveways that serve the location. We're in that industrial park area or light manufacturing area. And with respect to the question regarding in-person versus delivery hours, I think there were a couple questions from the commissioners on this. So per ABC, a type 21 ABC license requires you to have a retail component, which GoPuff certainly will. It's that roughly 500 square foot retail component. We would like to have the delivery of the alcohol from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. However, we're working with ABC to have a condition on the ABC license to limit the in-person retail. GoPuff does not intend to operate 24 hours a day in person at this location for in-person retail, but rather a scaled back in-person retail. The retail in-person is limited. So we're working with ABC to have a condition placed on the ABC license that is compliant with state law and thus not intrusive to the city as well with respect to operations. So I hope that answers that question. And I'm available for any other additional questions, as is Villette and Michelle.
Thank you, Ms. Oden. We'll start with Commissioner Alderati.
I have a question. It's less about the traffic. It's more about it's just really generally a comment. So this size in particular is proliferating throughout the country, right? Because there's this need to get things in 20 to 25 minutes. So I guess my question is, so 11,000 is a pretty big one. I've seen them as small as in like the size of a general store, that mostly in New York, San Francisco, in Orange County. I didn't think it would ever come here. So how logistically can you do that? I mean, I think it's got to be highly efficient. The story I heard on it, I think it was a New York Times piece. It was a podcast, and they talked about just the one thing that slows it down for some of your competitors, I think, is the alcohol piece, because they don't have the alcohol. They have everything else but the alcohol. So when someone orders a bag of chips and a six-pack, that six-pack really adds a lot of time. But they were going over just how incredibly efficient these businesses are in gathering things that people want close together and can get them out. And so I guess the question is, I think you've been doing this since 2013, is that right? And so how many are in California? You've got 2, or is it just in Southern California?
So and I'll let Balette provide more detail to this answer. Again, he's attending virtually. But as Eric mentioned, GoPuff did start on the East Coast in about 2013 time, and GoPuff has grown throughout the country. And here we are in Santa Ana, California, and they're excited to be in Santa Ana, California. So in 2020 is when GoPuff acquired Bevmo and started the methodology, right? That is GoPuff to have the brick and mortar. And agree with you, in order to have a successful business model, you have to be efficient at what you're doing. And this is exactly that. Certainly in light of the pandemic, I think we've even seen more demand for businesses like GoPuff in order to provide us in the middle of the night over-the-counter medication, right? Pet food, baby essentials, grocery. And the alcohol is a very small component of that. It is an ancillary use, but it is one that encompasses then everything as far as product offering is concerned. So you have individuals that would maybe not utilize the service if they couldn't get everything at a one-stop shop, which is what GoPuff wants to do for the community. So yes, to answer your question, that is why the alcohol component is in the CUP in order to be effective for the community. And I can turn over the rest to Balette if he can, hopefully, hear us and respond with respect to how efficient and effective GoPuff handles those delivery requests and items and gets them to the customers.
Thank you, Jennifer. I think that was a great summary in response to that. It's been a really exciting year. Ever since acquiring Bevmo and really getting ourselves in the door with California through that Bevmo acquisition was key. And looking at it from a time economic standpoint, it is absolutely amazing just how quickly and consistently GoPuff is able to get all kinds of essential items to someone's door in that under 30-minute mark. And it really all boils down to just looking at it from every layer of the puzzle and seeing where can we be most efficient. And one of those efficiencies, as we've pointed out, is grouping together orders where it makes sense and trying to get a lot of those orders grouped together so that we're reducing the amount of times driver partners are having to go back and forth. Even as it comes down to layout at the facility, where we have certain products, we've got a lot of smart minds, smarter folks than myself, who are looking at this every day and just seeing, where can we shave off the seconds at every stage. And so it's a really amazing service in that sense. And it's something that I definitely use personally.
Thank you. I have no more questions.
Great, thank you. Mr. Calderon, do you have any questions?
Just one question. I was looking at slide number 9 of the one that you handed to us. I was reading that says there was donations to like local governments, Boys and Girls Club. Are there any organizations that are gonna, like from Santa Ana, that are gonna benefit from this, or that you guys have in mind to donate money to?
With respect to Santa Ana specifically?
Yes.
I know when we originally had pre-meetings before we even filed the application, then when the application was on file, and going forward, we'd love to do this. We spoke with the director, and I believe, Eric, I don't know if Eric was on that call, but I had a conversation with Min, and he had mentioned like the WorkSource Center and some of the community organizations. And GoPuff is very committed to the community, and they look at the communities, of course, that they're going to come in and serve. So to answer your question, I would like to work closely with Min and or other community leaders within Santa Ana, because something that I maybe should have highlighted as well is there's an opportunity for local business owners that have product that they sell at retail, right, to come into GoPuff, and GoPuff offer that product to consumers as well. And now it's offered, more consistently and more availability throughout the city. So at this time, we're getting ready. We're hoping to come into Santa Ana, but Balette, if you have any additional information specifically that you want to provide to that, feel free. But I know that we had the conversation with Min, and we'll look forward to working closer with him.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, on that point, I'll just emphasize that I think the beauty of GoPuff, and you all might have already noticed this now, is, unlike a lot of the other delivery apps that you might have heard of or even used, GoPuff isn't just some app that's out in the cloud. We have that physical presence here. We have that brick and mortar presence, and we're hiring locally. And part of that is really showcased in just how we participate in that local economy. On sales tax, for example, we consider this location as the point of sale. So when we do our deliveries, that sales tax is going back to the city. When we look at local businesses that we try to partner with, there's an opportunity there with GoPuff, where it's a unique platform where we have a lot of control over our inventory, over what kind of businesses that we want to work with. So if there are great business partners there, we definitely want to partner with them. And as Jennifer was saying, our involvement with WorkSource centers is absolutely essential. We want to continue that conversation. We want to continue to hire locally. So that's all I can say.
And just to add to that, because Balette did bring up a great point, that GoPuff has that physical presence, right? It's not some app out in the cloud that we're not aware of. With the ABC license, it will be GoPuff that is the licensee. So it's not some third-party delivery. It is GoPuff's ABC license. So talk about a vested interest in that license and the responsible selling and serving of alcoholic beverages to the community, because it's their license on the line. It's not a third party that's otherwise then delivering the alcoholic beverages. So again, to Balette's point, vested in the community with respect to the sales tax going to Santa Ana, working with the community business owners, and their skin's in the game on the ABC license.
Thank you. Commissioner Wu, do you have any questions?
My question, so that the other commissioner get to know you a little better. You have an operation in Philadelphia, right? That's where your first one is. And you built community there. This city, with its mission and goal, is very community center, and it's built on different diverse community. And it seemed that Philadelphia is very diverse itself too, in the urban area. So can you tell us a little about your corporate philosophy towards the community, and how that business grew in Philadelphia?
Sure, I'll actually turn that question directly over to Balette with the GoPuff team, and he can provide just some history and the core values for GoPuff.
Yeah, I think that's a really excellent question, and I think it's something that's really important to us. It really boils down back to one way that we've really distinguished ourselves from a lot of other delivery platforms is really this fact that we're there in the community, we're part of that community, and we hire locally. So having that physical presence is really important, and I think that's really showcased in how we value these local partnerships, these community partnerships. We recently, or late last year, we started this program called the Put Me On program. And that's what Jennifer was getting at, where we work with local businesses, because, looking at our founders, they themselves were first-time entrepreneurs. You know, they themselves, and then they take that philosophy and then they take those learnings and they want to grow it into an opportunity for other small businesses, for other first-time entrepreneurs from people in different backgrounds, to really have a platform to showcase their products and their entrepreneurship. So, you know, I think it's a great question. I think it's, you know, it boils down to a lot the fact that, you know, we really do value that community aspect, you know, participating with those communities.
Yeah, I didn't understand your business being an old guy from another century where we just get in our car and go down to a store. And I wanted to really understand it. The thing that caught my eye was the access to services to people that we do not think about. We don't think about persons with disability, seniors and other people that may need these services, and it's an emergency, as you said. So I didn't think about that until I researched what was going on in Philadelphia, because I was concerned at first because of the urban environment there. But then I saw what was happening from the testimony. So thank you for sharing that, because I really don't understand your model being an old guy, but I understand that there is a market for that here where people push a button and call.
And absolutely, that's a great point, Commissioner Wu, with respect to the demographics that are served, and it is elderly and disabled, and certainly in light of the pandemic, people that don't necessarily feel safe, right, walking into large crowded areas, grocery stores included, and that can now be delivered really quickly, those essential items to your home at a very reasonable rate of $2.95, which if you're familiar with any delivery apps, you'll see that's extremely reasonable, and it's always set at that amount.
You also have some check and balances for the age group, right? Like on your apps that you mentioned on page 11, right?
Correct. Yeah. There's an extremely robust ID verification technology that's in place. Every single delivery driver and employee inside the store, both in-person retail or for delivery outside of the location, when it comes to age-restricted products, the identification is necessary and required. The individual must look at the identification, must ask the person their name, must confirm that is the same person, must look at the characteristics on the ID, including height, weight, eye color, hair color, to confirm that it is the same person, must scan the identification in order for it to be a valid identification. And if at any time the in-person employee or the delivery partner is uncomfortable with the identification presented or the person presenting it, the sale simply will not go forward. As I mentioned, this is GoPuff's ABC license. So any violation of the ABC Act is against GoPuff, not some removed third party. So it takes those sale of alcoholic beverages extremely seriously.
Thank you. Commissioner Ramos, you had a question.
Yes, I have a few questions, more specifically on the economic impact of GoPuff and the community benefits that GoPuff could also bring. So I know another commissioner already asked a few of these questions, but I'm glad to hear that GoPuff is working with city staff to see how the organization can directly benefit local organizations. And also happy to hear that you're exploring working with the city's work center. So one of my questions is actually around the local hiring plan. And I'm interested in knowing what that's looked like in other places where GoPuff currently is. So I believe it was San Diego and Santee.
Correct.
So can I hear a little bit about what that local hiring plan has looked like in those cities, how it's been implemented, and maybe what percentage of the staff that GoPuff has in those cities are residents from that city?
Sure, absolutely. And keep in mind, and I'll turn that over to Balette to answer specifically, but keep in mind, as GoPuff did acquire BevMo, those are also locations to which are included in the hiring of employees. So Balette, I'll let you answer the question regarding how GoPuff goes about the local hiring and what that looks like in those cities.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think to Jennifer's point, with the acquisition of BevMo and just us, getting integrated into that existing BevMo network, a big focus of ours this past year has really been participating in those WorkSource centers. So I think a great example to look at is in San Francisco, where we're working directly with the Office of Workforce and Economic Development there in their first source hiring program. And that's a program that specifically offers job opportunities to people from disadvantaged communities. And so there's a direct pipeline there between that job postings from our organization to that program. So I think that's a great example to look at in a more established and mature market for California. Again, we're still fairly new to California, so we're still working on a lot of this, especially with Santa Ana. Starting and having those initial conversations is important. A couple months ago, we started initial conversations with City of LA's WorkSource centers as well, and we're able to get in touch with all the different business partners of those WorkSource centers and really begin to start this pipeline between our hiring team and recruitment team with the city. So it's still a work in progress, but it's something that we can probably say that we're actively engaged on.
Thank you. And I have a few more questions specifically on this local hire and the type of job opportunities that you might provide. So what type of positions would GoPuff be hiring for here in the city of Santa Ana?
Sure. Again, Billette can answer in more detail, but it would be employees on site, anywhere from entry level to managerial. And Billette, if you have any more insight into the specifics of that, please feel free to add.
Yeah. So that, again, that's a great question. So we hire employees at our locations, and like what Jennifer was saying, the great option here is that it really ranges. So we've got entry level, we've got our facility associates. Those are those boots on the ground, the main workforce that really makes those quick delivery times possible at our locations. So those are a majority of our workforce from these locations. But what's really great is that there's promotion and growth opportunities from within. So we looked at the statistics here on our hiring end, and it's really great to say that nearly 70% of shift lead roles and higher internal management roles in those locations were hired internally, from internal promotions. So there's a growth chain there from associate to leadership, and then finally to management at the very top level at these locations. So that's sort of what it looks like in terms of the folks that are hired.
Thank you. And I'm sure you've all done some research on Santa Ana, but the city is a very young city. Our median age is under the age of 30. So I'm wondering if there is a minimum age requirement for somebody that might want to seek employment with GoPuff, and if there's any youth employment opportunities that GoPuff has implemented elsewhere and has considered specifically thinking of the demographic of the city of Santa Ana.
Sure. I can speak with respect to, again, I'll turn it over to Billette with GoPuff, but I can speak with respect to the age restricted products and the delivery of the age restricted products. That will be a 21-year-old for, I think, reasons that we probably don't even have to discuss. But with respect to other positions available within GoPuff, go ahead, Billette.
Yeah, I think that's also, a really wonderful question, because I think it's something that other cities that we've talked to are also really interested in, having that pipeline with some of the more youth-focused work centers. So, I'm not aware of a minimum age requirement other than the one that's required for alcohol related service. But, I think you were definitely open to hiring folks from all backgrounds and all age groups.
Thank you. And I have one more question for now. So also thinking very specific to the city of Santa Ana. So the city of Santa Ana has very large populations of various cultures. There's a very high concentration of Latinos in this community. There's also a concentration of the Vietnamese community in Santa Ana. I'm actually not too far from where your location would be. So in hearing that GoPuff also works to include and incorporate small businesses and their products in the items that you would stock, how has GoPuff incorporated or included these very small, unique businesses that only exist in specific cities? So thinking of Santana, in Santana, it's very easy to find tortillas that were made that same day, that were made an hour ago, or French rolls that were made that morning. And so for those type of items, you won't go to your Albertsons or your Stater Brothers where it's prepackaged and has been sitting on the shelves for a while. You want items that were made that morning. So how has GoPuff been able to incorporate those, if at all? And if not, what approach would you all take here in Santa Ana to make sure that those very unique cultural items would be available because that's a need here.
Right. Yeah. Truthfully, it's working with the city, right, and working with the community. As we mentioned, working with the WorkSource centers, working with the local business groups, making that known to the business community, to the city, because the city is a conduit, right, to the business community as well. That GoPuff's in town. GoPuff wants to partner with local businesses. GoPuff wants to provide the local businesses products to the community that it serves, that both businesses serve. So truthfully, it's through dialogue. And that's my experience. And I'll let Billette hit on it as well with respect to the existing locations. And that would be the approach here as well, to have that dialogue, to conduct that outreach, because it is important to GoPuff's business model to offer those products. So to work with the city, to work with the local business groups and associations.
Yeah, and I think that's really awesome, to hear that, there's definitely a lot of businesses that you think could be of interest. And I think we're all, our ears are definitely open and hearing what kind of, businesses we should explore and look into working with. I think what's really great is because it's such a hyper local approach, people are going to recognize that. Customers of the GoPuff app are going to recognize a lot of those names in some cases. And so looking at, a specific example, I think there's a really great example with the Put Me On program that we started last year, where we took those, first-time entrepreneurs from all backgrounds. And one of the very first participants of that program was actually a gentleman, Ibrahim Basir. He started a company called A Dozen Cousins, and that company is making prepackaged food for traditional Creole, Caribbean, and Latin American fusion foods. And you can see it on the app in different regions, in different areas. So you can definitely see that program has really been beneficial to first-time small business entrepreneur like himself. And the way the program works, it's not just featuring a product on the app. We take it a step further where we're providing workshops, providing business connections, networking, and really setting themselves up for long-term success. So I think that's a really great example of one of the best ways where we've participated with local business.
Thank you. And then the last thing will just be a comment. So we also have a lot of monolingual residents that may only speak Spanish or Vietnamese. So I'm also just wondering, and it doesn't have to be answered now, this might be a conversation with staff, but I would be really interested in seeing GoPuff make an intentional effort to be accessible to those members of our community. And Santa Ana also has very low income residents. So while the $2.95 delivery charge may be accessible to many, it won't be accessible to everyone. So I'd also just encourage GoPuff to consider maybe a promotional offer of some sort for Santa Ana residents, so they too could access those benefits, especially in a community where many people don't drive a car and have to walk to various places. I think GoPuff could be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Mr. Vice Chair Pham, do you have any questions?
A few questions. They'll build on top of each other as I go along. Can you share the portion of your business that that alcohol revenue generates?
Sure. I think it's going to be, and I'll let Billette speak to it in detail. Keep in mind, this is going to be one of the first brick and mortar GoPuffs, right? With all uses included, all product offerings and alcohol. GoPuff has acquired Bevmo. Bevmo, of course, traditionally, the sale of alcohol is going to be, increased at a Bevmo location because it's a specialty alcohol retailer. So again, it's not something where GoPuff anticipates having exponential sales of alcoholic beverages. It really is an ancillary use at the location, simply to provide the convenient items all in one. Billette, I'll turn it over to you if there's any specific percentage that but I can say it's nowhere near 50%. So it's not the use, again, that's anticipated to be a primary use at the location. If anything, my rough estimate, and again, I'll turn it over to Balette, would be somewhere around maybe 10 to 20%.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's I would like to be able to speak on specifics here, but I don't have a specific percentage range. And to Jennifer's point, it's a little bit more challenging here since, when we look at the BevMo numbers, there's definitely a lot of mixing there with the existing BevMo customer base. But what I can say is, as Jennifer said, it's nowhere near 50%. A majority of our sales is non-alcohol. The importance of alcohol is really just that customer experience in having that full range of products. There's an expectation of the customer to be able to get everything that they need or want through GoPuff. And even though it's a smaller portion of the sales, it's just as important to us.
So then, building on top of that, how crucial is the 2-hour extension to 2 a.m. if it's not a primary goal of the GoPuff business model?
Sure. With respect to going from midnight to 2 a.m. Yeah, it's simply a request with respect to what the ABC typically does, what is state law, unless otherwise conditioned for some protest or objection or anything like that, none of which ABC has received in this case. So it is to stay consistent with state law of 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. And it is for that added convenience, primarily probably on a Friday or Saturday evening, right, where people have different work schedules, cook dinner at different times of the evening, right, with respect to maybe ordering some pasta and pasta sauce or spaghetti and the 6-pack of beer. It's just to have that convenience consistent with state law. And again, here it would be in the delivery aspect of the use as well. So it is important to GoPuff because GoPuff wants to be as efficient as it can for the community and have as many product offerings during the allotted times that it can for the community.
And I can touch on this a little bit. And I think this really goes back to just how important we find customer experience to be. Even though it might not be the main driver of sales and margin for a company, I think it's really critical to be able to have that kind of coverage for that customer experience, knowing that we are available, that we do have their back if they want to get their broad selection of items, including alcohol. And there's a lot of staying power there in providing that customer experience element, and we value that really highly at GoPuff.
Right. And you only get the one chance to make a first impression, right?
So
exactly.
I'm not sure you have the statistic on hand, but what is the volume of alcohol sales after midnight? I know that you want to be consistent with state law, and so extending to 2 a.m. is consistent, but I'm wondering how critical it is to extend to 2 a.m.
Well, with respect to the question regarding critical and alcohol sales alone, I think the way that I see it in my mind and the way that I approach it is the overall order, right? The overall product that will be delivered to a customer. Oftentimes, is that just alcohol out of a GoPuff? No, that's what we're talking about, right? We don't have that to be the primary use that is GoPuff. We don't anticipate those sales to be anywhere near 50%, right? It'll be much on the smaller scale, but it's the ability to offer a wide variety of product. And in GoPuff's experience, and this is similar to other retailers as well, but with respect to serving the community, having the ability to offer all of the product consistent with state laws till 2 a.m. If GoPuff cannot, they will lose customers because customers will go to other locations where they can get everything at a one-stop shop. So that's the mindset, right? It's not just alcohol, but it's the ability to offer all products and the convenience of being able to offer all those products. And I'll let Balette answer if there's anything additional to that with respect to the ideology.
No, absolutely. Jennifer, I think you put it perfectly there. It's really just the that convenience factor and that customer experience factor that we're taking a look at. When we look at actual volume, the peak volume that we typically see is Saturday or Friday evenings, not the late hours. So it's an option there really just for the customer, so that they continue to open the GoPuff app, so they don't delete the GoPuff app, and have it in mind in the future.
Right. And then let's say you don't have the ability to distribute alcohol after midnight, but you do have BevMo location around Orange County. Would those be routed? So let's say your customers order alcohol on your app, but you don't have the ability to distribute from the Santa Ana location. You still have the ability to distribute from your BevMo brick and mortar locations, or am I misunderstanding the situation?
Well, I'll let Billette talk to the logistics of it in more detail, but with respect to, again, the sales tax and the point of sale, it will always be in Santa Ana. So if the sale of alcohol cannot occur at this location due to an hours restriction, it's going to have to occur, if at all, at another location. The BevMo, I don't know the hours off the top of my head with respect to all the BevMos nearby, but it's really going to cut into the efficiency kind of that we were talking about a little bit earlier, and GoPuff's ability to group one order or multiple orders for the drivers to deliver. So as a practical matter, and again, I'll let Billette talk about the logistics a little bit more. As a practical matter, I don't know if it would work, truly. I don't know if you would be able to order some from the GoPuff in Santa Ana and then alcohol from another nearby location to fit what GoPuff wants to provide to its customers satisfactorily.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a logistics issue. It boils back down to the time economics piece and really just how we take this on as a hyperlocal approach. So when we look at each of the locations, they have a typical radius of 2 to 5 miles. And a big reason for that is so that those delivery times stay very low. It's a very bad customer experience if they have to wait an hour, even 45 minutes, when we've promised them under 30-minute delivery windows. So, in that sense, if we don't, it wouldn't work, basically, to Jennifer's point.
And I know that your operations have been in other states before. I'm curious how much of the customer base is college students, because we do have a few colleges in the area, and of course, alcohol on demand would be a great offering. So I'm wondering how much of the customer base is that?
Sure. Well, and maybe some of you have read, yourself included, Commissioner Pham, with respect to how GoPuff started. And it was started by some college kids, right? To serve colleges, people up late night studying, right? Essential needs, whether it's medicine, whether it's food, grocery, alcohol included. And really throughout the growth that GoPuff has experienced throughout the United States, the demographic, as we were kind of touching on a little bit earlier, has shifted in a way that it really includes so many people. Of course, college age kids are within that group, but elderly is within it, as far as individuals not wanting to go to the store, wanting to have the product delivered right to the home, disabled, working class, 30s, 40s, 50-year-olds. There really has not been, and Billette, correct me if I'm wrong, there really has not been a focus that is so narrow to include just a specific age group. Based on the product offering, GoPuff during the height of the last, this is by way of example, during the height of the last COVID surge with respect to the variant Omicron, GoPuff was providing COVID tests. They had worked in partnership to be able to provide COVID tests to people. So talk about essential items and medication, things of that nature. So to answer your question in a roundabout way, really the growth of GoPuff has expanded in such a way that it can't really be put into a category, if you will. And like I said, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at other states, you're just looking nationally throughout the whole GoPuff market. There isn't any sort of key demographic here. We do get really great feedback though from folks. Like the busy parent is a great example. You know, they've run out of diapers. It's 11 p.m. The local store is closed, and then GoPuff can get it to their door in 30 minutes. You know, it's that kind of you know, situation that GoPuff is really key for, and we call it, you know, the instant needs market. That's kind of the term that we've coined, and that, you know, crosses all age groups and all boundaries. So definitely no target demographic, but it is great to see all kinds of folks using our app.
Well, the only reason why I'm focused on the alcohol aspect of it, because the CUP is addressing the sales of alcohol. I know that GoPuff's distribution of other goods, it's not very relevant to the CUP itself. And so my only concern is the ease of access to alcohol, whether or not it's through the app or through the store. You know, the fact of the matter is it, you know, we have to be concerned about the ease of access, especially with college students, especially with, even you go to a local liquor store, you have an ID, but you know, you don't know later on. I know it's not on the responsibility of you as a business how the alcohol is distributed later on, but to be able to have alcohol to your home, let's say it's a house party, you know, that there's other things that are involved beyond that step. And so that's my concern, and that's the reason why I'm asking these questions, is just the ease of access. Secondly, you're able to kind of expand on the incentive or disincentive structure of your delivery person as they drop off the packages, because I know that there's other delivery services where I hear the doorbell ring and I see the package and that's it. I don't see anyone there. And especially with alcohol, I know that your slide expands on the fact that you scan the ID, but I'm wondering if there's our incentives or disincentive structure within your organization that makes sure that if there's no one present, that, you know, the drivers aren't penalized for not completing their drop off, and so they just kind of get it done, you know.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's actually the opposite. And I appreciate the concern and the questions with respect to alcohol. It is a sensitive use topic. And with respect to the hours, if I just go back to it for a moment, my response would be GoPuff is a responsible retailer. They acquired Bevmo. They've been responsible in their ownership and direction of Bevmo. They intend to do here as well with respect to their ABC license, as I mentioned. And from ABC's perspective, which otherwise regulates the sale, service, and distribution of alcohol, ABC has seen no issue or flagged it for anything less than the 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. that we're requesting. So to hopefully, you know, answer those questions and address those concerns. With respect to the delivery partners and the delivery partner delivering an age-restricted product such as alcohol, absolutely not. There's training and policies in place that all delivery partners will have to undergo and acknowledge. And again, a major reason behind this is simply because GoPuff wants to be a responsible operator, but really this is their ABC license. If there are sales to minors, if there are sales to obviously intoxicated individuals, GoPuff's ABC license will be disciplined. ABC will file an accusation. ABC will seek to right those wrongs. So it's extremely important to GoPuff that their delivery partners and drivers are aware of those issues, are adequately trained with respect to what the ABC laws, rules, and regulations are. And it would never be simply somebody didn't answer the door, drop the alcohol at the door, because quite frankly, the sale cannot go through without that identification. The sale will not go through with respect to without the ID and the delivery driver doing their due diligence to make sure that the person that's purchasing the alcohol is standing in front of the delivery driver. It is that exact same person. That person is not obviously intoxicated. Arguably, I would say maybe more goes into this process with GoPuff than oftentimes what we're used to is a quick in-person retail transaction with respect to the training that it's providing to these delivery drivers for the sale of alcohol. So there's an incentive to do it the right way. And if failure to do it the right way will result in no longer using those delivery partners, it will result in in-person employees termination. It can. And that's all in writing, and that's part of the policies and really the mission and core beliefs of GoPuff, because simply put, it wants to be a responsible beverage provider.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And if I could add to that as well, I think, Jennifer, you put it very well there. It really comes back down to, as to Commissioner, to your point as well, there are existing apps out there. We've got Drizzly, we've got Instacart, and these other third-party delivery platforms that can already provide that sort of alcohol service. And in this case, the unique factor is we're an even more responsible party. And I hear your example, and I think this is a really important discussion, right? Because I know why it's a big topic of concern. But I can definitely assure you that GoPuff is a very responsible party, and it shows that it's the very unique structure that we have where we hold those licenses. And a way that you can see it as well, to your example, with the house party, and to your example and concerns with college students, with every GoPuff driver delivering alcohol for someone else, you can potentially see that as one less person who's driving under the influence to get alcohol at a retail establishment. Having this kind of service would be critical to offsetting that kind of possibility as well. And I think that's another important way that we can look at it as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. I think that's a good point. It does help potentially get traffic off the road. I think that's one of the advantages of the service. You have multiple deliveries. Each one of those is potentially getting a car off the road, so it's actually might be reducing traffic in essence. And I like everything you guys are doing with local hires, and how this service can assist the disabled and the elderly. I think that's hugely advantageous to the community. I am concerned about the after hours. I'm a little unclear as to how the law works with the after hours on premises sale. I kind of question the need for, after, the late on premises sale of alcohol. So we did have a comment from the public on the activities around that area. I was wondering, I saw that Santa Ana Police Department's here. Did they have any comments or anything on that issue as to what their thoughts are on the after hours sale at this premises?
Even here, everybody. No, we've done statistical analysis of that area, and I pulled calls for service for the last 5 years, and there's minimal incidences in the area. And so the way that they're proposing to conduct business, we don't foresee any concerns or calls for service. And as long as they're compliant with ABC's conditions as well as our municipal code, we think it'll be good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question I have is, are you still, with the ABC license, are you required to keep your on-premises sales active the same hours you are doing the deliveries? Is that how it works? Or
so what we're requesting with the ABC is to have the limited in-person retail, right? So the delivery of alcohol, the delivery of non-alcohol would be 24 hours daily. The delivery of alcohol would be consistent with state law, 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. And then there would be that limited in-person retail. Don't hold me to this hour yet, but what we're looking at is roughly like 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that's what we're in discussions with, or will be actually this week even with ABC, in order to make sure that's acceptable. And it, just for reference, that is a common condition that ABC has placed on licenses where you have a similar use as this, like GoPuff, where the in-person retail is not geared right towards what we would generally think of as far as a retail location or a convenience store or anything of that nature. So I don't anticipate any problems, issues, or concerns. There's been none that ABC has raised at this time, and we'll be requesting a condition on the license for ABC, which hopefully puts your minds at ease with respect to that in-person retail.
Tom,
Thank you.
a point of
Commissioner Wu?
clarification,
Yes, go ahead.
following up on your question. You are volunteering, GoPuff, I'm not you, is volunteering to set another time, even though ABC has approved you to have a longer time on the premise.
That's
And
correct.
it's your decision to do this, right?
Correct.
I don't think I have any other questions. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, are there any telephone
If you are
comments
attending
from the
this
public
meeting,
on the telephone?
if you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it in to the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. Chair, we have no speakers.
Thank you very much. Before we close the public hearing, do we have any other remarks from staff or the applicant?
None. Thank you, Jennifer, for everything. And it's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you. I'll just echo that. And I've appreciated appearing before each of you tonight and hopefully answered your questions adequately, and respectfully request the commission's support of these two CUP applications. Thank you.
Very much. The public hearing is now closed. And we'll bring it back to the commission. Does the commission have any questions for staff? I'll start with Commissioner Aldretti.
No, I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Calderon.
I have no questions.
Commissioner Wu.
No more questions?
Commissioner Ramos.
No questions.
Vice Chair Pham.
Eric, can you expand on, you mentioned as part of the conditional use, as part of the conditions is that there's a 12-month review. It's a 12-month review for both CUP for the hours, the extension of the hours, and for the off-premise sales.
Yes, that condition of approval is included in both resolutions approving the CUPs.
And
So it would be
then-
for both.
Then the second condition was to be able to revoke the CUP. Does that extend beyond the 12-month review, or does that end at the 12-month review period?
That is, it does extend beyond. That's also a code requirement. We put that as sort of, I guess, a fail-safe just in case issues arise.
And part of your assessment is complaints from police departments, or can just kind of a general overview of what's your assessment within that 12 months?
You're correct. So we'll be reviewing the site to see if there's any code enforcement violations or any complaints received by PD. And I would be coordinating with them to ensure that there's no issues.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I have maybe a couple questions. So the CUP for the extension after midnight, that is for the on-site, the on-premises sale of alcohol? Is that what that's for?
That's correct, yeah.
But if the applicant is seeking, I think they said 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on-premises sale of alcohol, why are we
Okay.
still requesting that?
Sorry, let me go back and
Okay.
clarify. So it's actually for the retail component, the in-person component, as well as the delivery services. So it's for the sale of those alcoholic beverages after midnight and before
That's
7
the
a.m.
delivery as well.
Exactly. So
Okay.
that encompasses the delivery component. So the in-person, they advise that they would like to have those hours of operation be 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So it's just included. And then outside of those hours, per the CUP, they can deliver the alcoholic beverages between 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. should you approve the request.
So are those on-site premises hours dictated by ABC, or is that something that's under our jurisdiction?
I would say both. Per the CUP request, what they are given is the extra hour in the morning, so from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and then the extra 2 hours, so 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. And that 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. window is what is allowed by ABC.
Thank you. So I don't have any further questions. Thank you for your response there. I'd like to bring it back to see if we have a motion for approval.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to propose that we approve conditional use permit 2022-01 and 2022-03 with the stipulations that staff recommended.
And those, what stipulations?
To allow
general
for
conditions?
the after-hour sale, but a review in 12 months.
Really quick, just for clarification, if concern of sale of alcohol during, the day, or how many hours are going to be open to the public for sales of alcohol, the commission has the discretion of limiting the hours that they could be potentially open to the public. The applicant indicated that they're trying to work with ABC to be open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., if I recall. Is that correct? So if that is the case, the commission can say not to exceed those hours.
Sure. If my understanding is correct for an offsite alcohol use, as this is in the city of Santa Ana, generally what's approved, if the CUP is approved, is 7 a.m. to midnight. We're requesting 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. for that delivery aspect. I don't want to tie us to the 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. like I said, but I can assure you it's not a late night in-person operation like you would see at a other retail or liquor store location. With respect to what's before you tonight, I'd respectfully request, just so there's not confusion, in the CUP and the ABC license, the 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., because that's state law. And then again, to Commissioner Wu's point, we are going to the ABC and requesting to have lower in-person retail sales of alcohol. Again, those hours aren't set right now at 7 a.m. or 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., but I would say roughly in that range. It's not a late night operation. So under the city's municipal code, again, my request would be, because what's otherwise allowed and not considered a late night hours is the 7 a.m. to midnight. So I would just request the 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. and let that condition and purview sit with the ABC, since they have the jurisdiction under the ABC Act for that purpose.
The reason for my motion is that it's a starting up business with a business model that grows as it become part of the community, adjusting along the way to the marketplace, driven by a robot. I have to have a little fun there. So the computer-driven market is a different way of approaching their business model. And so my motion follows what they apply to ABC for now, but I am cognitive that the applicants have stated publicly that they would like to adjust it later, which means, does that come back to us again later, Mr. City Attorney, to have to adjust to the CPUC later for their hours, or can that be done administratively?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, Commissioner Wu?
Since they, the resolution up there for the CPUC follows their application currently on file with ABC, right? But they want to modify that, but they're going to have to go through the CPUC first. And what I'm asking is that, will this come back to us for an adjustment, or will that be done administratively? Because ABC approved a different time for them and ours will be adjusted accordingly.
Yeah, it will require a modification of the CUP if you want to change the hours. So if you leave it the way it is for now, and you're just going to come back in a 12-month review, but at that time, all you're reviewing is what was approved.
So in the 12-month review, we have a chance to adjust the hours again, right?
Well, no, it's just a review of their operation, whether there have been any issues that Eric indicated, whether there have been any complaints, any service for calls from the police department, violations reported to code enforcement.
And just if I may, because I believe Commissioner Wu, you were asking this question earlier, GoPuff completely understands this is discretionary entitlement. It's a conditional use permit for the offsite sale of alcohol with requested sale of 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. At any time, if there were issues with law enforcement, with the community, with the business owners, there were complaints, the Planning Commission has the purview to bring this back before the Planning Commission. One of the conditions, as Eric mentioned, and I should say that all of these conditions are agreeable. We've read through both CUPs with the conditions, the property maintenance agreement, the ability for the commission to review within 12 months, the revocation proceedings if there are issues, the suspension of the use if there are issues, all of which are agreeable to GoPuff. So the commission always has the purview to bring something back before it if the use becomes problematic or there's nuisance related activity or trouble at the location. And I feel confident saying and informing you, of course, you probably already know, but letting you know that, and GoPuff understands that. So this really is a location that wants to have top-notch services here in the city of Santa Ana and provide essential items to individuals in the city.
So I don't need to change my motion. I just need a second.
I have a question though. So earlier in the presentation, there were two comments made about how the parking, right, the lines and the trash, is that included in the CUP? Or is that something we have to add on?
No, that is included in the resolution.
Okay.
Both conditions are in both resolutions.
Got it. Okay, thanks. I'll second it.
Okay, can I request a friendly amendment? That we ask we condition the applicant to apply to the ABC for on-site sales hours of 9 to 7 p.m. Well, that's what the applicant offered, if I'm not mistaken. It's just
We're trying to reduce the hours.
no, that doesn't affect the delivery
Can
retail aspect.
Can I offer a clarification? Again, we're expecting 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Perhaps to address your concern, a condition that requires the applicant to have a limited in-person retail less than 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. Would that address it with the ABC? Because that's exactly what we're requesting with ABC, to have less than.
Well, I think that's what we're concerned about is, how much less. I think that's the concern I'm hearing about on part of some commissioners.
Can I ask a point of clarification?
Certainly.
Can city staff please remind us what our municipal code states? I believe is midnight.
Yes, so the municipal code does allow alcoholic beverages to be sold by right from 7 a.m. Sorry, not by right, with the conditional use permit from 7 a.m. to midnight currently. If they would like to sell the alcoholic beverages between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. and then midnight to 2 a.m., they do need to request an after hours CUP.
So perhaps maybe this could address it, I think. And Billette, I'm putting you on the spot here to confirm if I'm correct for GoPuff's position, but perhaps a condition for in-person 7 a.m. to midnight, consistent with the code, delivery 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., if that would address the commission's concern. And again, I'm standing before you in a public forum, letting you know that We don't even anticipate to have in-person from 7 a.m. to midnight, but I'd like that flexibility. And as Eric said, that's what's under the code with respect to CUPs.
And that was going to be my requirement that or my recommendation that we recommend or require that they abide by our municipal code.
In other words, the ordinance was in compliance with a current code, and they are within the guideline, is what Commissioner Ramos was pointing out. And I think your friendly amendment is saying by them abiding with the current municipal code gives them the flexibility to adjust their hour and to meet your concern. I think that's what you're saying, right?
Somewhat. So hearing the conversation on the dais and the various concerns by commissioners, I think it's a middle ground where the business would then have the ability to modify their hours as needed, while also addressing the concern of sales, on-site sales between the times of 12 and 2 a.m.
Right. So as I mentioned, GoPuff, and Billette, please correct me if I'm wrong right now, because we're not in person communicating, but would be agreeable of 7 a.m. to midnight in person, 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. delivery.
Yeah, that sounds very acceptable. I think that gives us that breathing room. You know, we're going to be working closely with ABC, but that offers that a little bit of flexibility as well.
Commissioner Wu, you accept that friendly amendment?
Well, I kind of like Commissioner Ramos.
From the,
Yeah,
that's what
I will
Commissioner Ramos,
adjust to that.
to my understanding, is
Yeah, since the
suggesting.
business is amenable to that.
Sorry, can we have staff restate the motion at hand with the friendly amendments that have been accepted, so we're all on the same page?
Sorry, if you could give us one moment.
Of course, thank you.
Okay, so what we are proposing to you guys tonight is that within the resolutions on the header, it would say a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Ana approving conditional use permit number 2022-01 as condition to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption at GoPuff located at 2420 Cape Cod Way from 7 a.m. to midnight. And that would be for CUP number 2022-01. And then 2022-03, it would say a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Ana approving conditional use permit number 2022-03 as conditioned to allow the after hours delivery of alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption from 6 a.m. until 2 a.m. for GoPuff located at 2420 Cape Cod Way.
Yeah, that's what I understood.
I agree.
Is that okay with you, Calderon? Okay. Madam Secretary, can you do a roll call vote?
Just for clarification, who motioned and who seconded?
Commissioner Wu made the motion and seconded by Commissioner Calderon.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call roll call vote. Commissioner Alderete.
Yes.
Commissioner Calderon.
Aye.
Commissioner McLaughlin. Commissioner Ramos.
Aye.
Commissioner Wu.
Aye.
Vice Chair Pham.
Aye.
Chair Morrissey.
Aye.
Motion is approved with majority vote with Commissioner McLaughlin absent.
Thank you all. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So that concludes the business calendar, and we will move on to comments. Are there any staff member comments this week?
Tonight.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to Commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Aldretti. Do you have any comments today?
I have no comments. Thank you.
Commissioner
sorry.
Caldwell.
Thank you, city staff, for the presentation, and as well as the GoPuff team. Really well put presentation, Jennifer. Good job. And commissioners, thank you for being here.
Commissioner Wu.
I want to thank everyone tonight, especially for helping me to understand what this business is all about. A great presentation. I just want to mention that on May 25th, 1906, the city council at that time, or it wasn't a city council, it was a board of trustee. The president of that board of trustee and the council and the board of trustee passed an ordinance to burn down Chinatown. And so they directed the fire marshal to do that. I am seeking some kind of commemoration, and it will be going forward before the city council and some type of a apology. I just hope to get more support as the area where Chinatown used to be will be honored and acknowledged, and so that the souls of our ancestors can go to rest, and that we will begin healing the community.
Thank you, Commissioner Wu.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to bring a downer, but that was supposed to be a good thing.
Commissioner Ramos, do you have any comments today?
Yeah, just thank you to everyone present. Thank you to the applicant for answering all the questions thoroughly. And thank you, Commissioner Wu, for your effort on that and for sharing that with us today.
Vice Chair Pham.
Thank you to the GoPuff team for all your answers, and thank you staff for the presentation.
Thank you, staff, for the presentation today, and I'd like to look into the history on that, Commissioner Wu. It's something I wasn't even aware of, so thanks for bringing that to our attention. So we'll adjourn this meeting to the next regular meeting, which will be held on Monday, March 28th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. Night.